like
And what is the regular expression that we were discussing now? What I had some notes of QTP. So there they have mentioned that regular expressions are used when we have a string which is dynamic every time. Like for example, for flight reservation, the order number will be changing every time, right? So then we use regular expression for such kind of objects which change every time when we are using it.
right. So I'll explain once let's go through this. So you understood this
Yeah.
framework, right? So it's basically a combination of all these: recorded playback, linear framework. Keyword driven is the using functions. Module driven is using actions. Data driven is driving the script over data, like using the data from Excel spreadsheet or data table. The combination of all these is recommended. That is called hybrid approach. So this, you can say the framework I have used is combination of keyword driven, module driven, data driven, and little bit of recording playback. So that is kind of hybrid approach. So then they will ask you record what kind of record and playback you use. Normal recording, analog recording, lower recording, inside recording, and then checkpoints are important only for the record and playback approach. So what kind of checkpoints do you use? How many checkpoints are there? There are totally nine types of checkpoints. So like I explained you, standard checkpoint, text checkpoint, text data checkpoint, bitmap checkpoint, database checkpoint, accessibility checkpoint, and XML checkpoints too, and file content checkpoint. So the name itself says what they will do. Standard means it will just verify the properties of an object. Text is for verifying the text and blah blah blah. So accordingly we can use. So for using keyword driven, you need to know the VB scripting little bit. So because it uses you are going to write your own functions, you have to write in the VB scripting. So basically you will use how to get the data from user using input box, how to display it onto like dialog. This is normally for debugging purpose. Message box is not used in the real-time programming. So if conditions, what is the syntax of if and else if condition. So when you create a library, the library will be have extension QFL or .vbs or .vbt. So when you want to practice the VB script, you can just practice in a text file also though. Just what you can do is you can write your VB scripting in a text file and save it as VBS. When you double click the file, it will be executed automatically. So you don't need a QTP to practice VB script. Then for loop, same thing as we use in Java. So we have for loop, only the syntax difference is there. Otherwise it's the same concept. While loop. Do while loop normally what will do, it won't check the condition initially. So when you use a do while loop, it will be executed at least one time, even if the condition is not satisfied, because condition is satisfied only when the first iteration is executed. So it will be at the end of the iteration. So I have given some examples when you write your program, you use option explicit, right? So why use when you explicitly declare the variables, that means every variable in VB script is of type dim type, just like an integer, integer float is double count, or the data types in Java. So there is only one data type dim. But when you explicitly declare the variables using dim, then you have to write option explicit. Otherwise not required. So this is also not mandatory. This is our option. So for example, I am accepting some data from user. So use input box and store it in a variable 1. This will be displayed onto dialog and user will be entering in the text box. That will be stored in variable 1. So then you can print it using message box. Your first name is ampersand variable is normally to recognize a variable. So that is a just like C we use. And if condition of variable 1 is equal to Sangam, then this is important. Instead of message box, you want to print it to the results. I want to say reporter is a class, report event is a method. I want to say it's a pass, and what step is pass, and what you want to display if it is pass. Okay, so Make pass is normally first argument and it indicates the pass, and this is the step you want to pass it. And what is passing? You are describing it. First name is correct. So else if it is something else, I want to print it as first name is not correct. Else something else is there, then I want to print it's just fail. So something like this. So
but what will H1 do? What is H1? Step means what?
This is just a string. Step 1, your test cases have some steps, right? Step 1, step 2. This is just to indicate that the step 1 is passed. That's it. This is just a string. You can put anything over here. This is important. Make pass or 1. 1 means fail. 0 means pass. So either make fail or 1 means fail. If you want to pass it, you can put 0. 0 for pass, 1 for fail. So you easily know if you open QTP and if you just type, it will show you just the way it's in Java. Eclipse gives you suggestions right after typing partially. So don't worry about this. It will be given when you type report event. It will ask you enter this argument, enter this argument, enter this argument. So it will also describe what is this argument. It's a make pass and this is just a string for step. This is just a description string. So loop also same concept for I is equal to 1 to 5. So it is a little bit different from Java. This is the initial condition. This is the final value and incremental. So step 1 means incrementing. So it is preceded followed by the next. Whatever you put inside, it will be looped. Same thing for while loop. So you can just practice. And report event is important because this is the actual syntax. This will print something to the results, not to the console, not to the dialog. So report events. First argument is status 0 or 1. Step name and description. That's it. Then you will be using some string functions. So string functions are length function. For example, you have length, right? Then you have to calculate the for example, you have a string. You want to calculate its length. So length is a function. For example, if I want to capture the length of this string, then you use the length function and it will be stored in x. X is of type dim again. So every data type, all data types are same thing in VB that is dim. And mid function is normally we have used in Java there are many string functions, but in VB only few are there. So mid function is normally if you want to capture the middle of this string, so then you use the mid function. Starting position and the number of required positions and the variable. So mid, what string you want to pass, Kumar, starting from where, and number of strings from there, number of characters from there. So basically it will start from U and 1, 2, 3, 4. So UMAR will be returned. So that is basically mid function. These will be useful in the sense that in Java we have encountered this kind of strings, right? You want to get rid of this dollar sign. For example, in most of the websites, dollar sign will be there along with the string. But if you want to calculate, you have to get rid of dollar sign. Otherwise, you cannot calculate. So same thing we have done in Java using dot replace, dot get text, dot replace. Replace this string by this dollar sign by a blank character. So similarly here we have a mid function. That means simply take this one. So mid of a starting from 2. So starting from 1 is dollar sign. So just keep it starting from 2. How many number of digits you want to? So if it is dynamic like 1000, 10,000, 1 million, then take the length of this whole string and minus 1. That will give you the whole string without dollar sign. So this is general formula. Split function is normally if you want to split the entire very big string into multiple strings. For example, you have this Shah Rukh Khan, right? And you want to split. Then you can split it using the split and store all these variables in the array kind of. So when you store it will store in the M0, it will store this in M1, M2. So that's a one dimensional array. So you can deal with these arrays in the for loop again. So comparison operator normally we have already seen, right? Equals, less than. In the for loop you can use. So what are these comparison operators? Less than, equal to, is greater than equal to, not equal to, and this is also not equal to, and you can play with these mathematical operations and everything. So now coming back to repositories, you ask local repository and shared repository. So local repository is like when you record some script. Basically, repository only comes into picture when you record something, right? Otherwise, if you are following descriptive, you don't need the repository at all. So there is no question of using either local or shared. But if you are using the record a playback approach at all, then when you record something on the web browser in some application, all the objects that you are operating upon will be stored in repository. That will be .tsr. When you share it, you want to save it first. When you save it, it will be saved as .tsr file, test shared repository. So then, like I told you, if you want it to be used among your automation test team, then put it on a shared folder or a server somewhere. So then it will be shared. That's why it is called shared or global repository. So that is only the difference. Local means local to your machine. Shared means it's shared with other. Even if you want to share this with other programs, other class, other functions in your own project, then also you have to share it. So that is the difference. So just I will give you a walkthrough quickly. So let me go associating. So when you are writing your function, you must associate that library with your test. So otherwise it won't recognize. So for example, here this is a library. You can open as many libraries as you want, but you can open one test at a time. For example, you create a library function here and you want to call it in your test. Action 1 is a test, right? Then before that you have to associate this library to the action. So that can be done by going to the file menu. I can't show you the QTP because it's not installed. I am just walking you through this screenshots. So later you can go through. What is the step generator? What is the feature? What is the advantage of step generator?
So what I recall is like if while recording, if we have missed some step, then with the help of step generator, using the active screen or there are some options for step generator, we can add a step. Is it correct? I don't remember much.
Almost correct. I'll tell you exactly. Normally, when you can write your own function using like your knowledge, right? Sometimes you don't remember. For example, I want to print something into the results. That means I have to use this line, this command, reporter.report event. I might not have this on top of my head every time. So I might forget reporter, what is the class name, I don't remember. So simply go to step generator, select the utility objects in which it will list out all these classes you can see, objects. In this is called an object, this is called a method, right? So you simply see that and select it. So that is the advantage of step generator instead of remembering it. Similarly, functions, length function, mid function, split function, there are many functions listed in the drop down. You can simply select. Same thing with the system util.run is normally used to launch the browser. So in Java, what we will do, we will simply use driver.get in Selenium WebDriver. So that will launch the browser. Before you initialize the driver using the WebDriver, driver is equal to new WebDriver, and then driver.get, that will open the URL. Similarly, if you want to open a URL in Internet Explorer in the scripting, so system util.run, browser type is the first argument and the URL is the second argument. So this will launch the Internet Explorer and open this site. So similarly, if you want to open Firefox, so simply enter firefox.exe. If you want to do your program, if you want to do it your automation Chrome, simply pass chrome.exe. Since test objects are normally what objects you find in the application. For example, you said what kind of objects you can encounter in a web application: buttons, drop downs, checkboxes, radio buttons, blah blah blah. So these are all called test objects. So here, this is how it goes. When you record something on application, it comes from the topmost test object. It is a browser. Browser is a topmost, and its name or title or whatever. and page is its child. So this object is the child of this object. Then what is its child? Web button. So you have to come from its grandparent, wherever the topmost root object, and come down. You have to maintain the hierarchy and come down to the actual object you are operating upon. So web button is actually you are operating upon. And what is the method you want to do on this particular web button? Dot click. Dot click is the method. So this is how it will record. So if you record, and this is how you explain basically. So how does a recording live looks like? So you can explain. So basically this is the basis of your descriptive programming also. More or less you have to mention the property name. This is just a property value. In your descriptive programming you have to mention the property value, so that when you run it, what happens, QTP will directly compare this property name value combination with the runtime application's property name value combination, and it will do the operation. So here in the recording it won't do, it will go to the object repository and compare. So that is the difference. Object repository normally takes time because it goes to object repository and compares it. That's why normally your project management prefers the descriptive programming rather than record and play. So we have seen in any language there are 4 types of functions. If you want to write your own function, you have to know what kind of functions are there. The function which takes arguments, returns nothing, something like this. Arguments are passed and returns something. It looks like something because it's taking 2 arguments and returns some value. So you are storing in some variable. The function which doesn't take any arguments but returns looks like this. No arguments, no returns. So it's simple. So this is some example. You can just go to the actual QTP and practice it. Then we will directly go to keyword driven approach for automation. In this approach, what tester will do actually. This is the beginning of keyword driven approach, and I put it in this PDF. So in this approach, tester first identifies repeatable operations. That is the first and foremost thing you do. Then he records or writes the user defined functions. So these user defined functions are called keywords in QTP. So that's why, hence the name keyword driven approach. So the process goes like this, step by step. First identify the repeatable operations in your project, your test cases, for example say. Then record them or write the functions as repeatable operations as keywords, for example login, sign up, register, apply for something, sign up, so on. Then this you will convert the manual test into automation program using these keywords. That is the actual process of automation. This third line is. So this is one example, simple example using the flight reservation. Just the way we have seen this other example, right? This example. So basically this application is developed for only QTP, but we are using for Selenium. So this, however, this is not a web application that I have shown here. This is a Windows client-based application. That means you have to install it. That will come automatically after once you install QTP. So just follow this. Simply I open the application first, and then perform the operations. Then capture the values. So that is using the get visible text normally, or get arrow property is the most effective way of capturing. For example, win edit tickets, number of tickets if you want to capture, use the get arrow property, get runtime object property, and what property you want to capture, text. So that will take the text, number of our tickets 2 or 3, and store it in this variable. Same concept, you go and manipulate with these string variables using these mid functions and everything. And finally the validation parts normally includes if condition. So if this is equal to this, before this you have to do some type conversion, just the way we did in Selenium, using parsing, digit parse and double parse, double parse, blah blah blah. So CDBL is a function. This is one of the functions in the step generator you can use it from. CDBL means convert to double, CDBL. Cint means convert to int. So basically that is to convert from string to double or string to integer. So you can use these techniques, and finally when you run, you will see this window, right? Like, okay, so and so is passed, so and so is failed in the report result window. Then what you do is you simply go to file and export it and share it with your management. So here keyword driven, then that is record and payback approach. Then you can actually upgrade it to writing your own program using descriptive. So you have to modularize this first of all. Instead of using linear framework, you just modularize it to log in, create order, update order, log out, so that every function will be separately written, and only if you want to call this, you will call this by passing certain arguments. So that you don't have to create every time. That means you have already created one function one time and you will call it multiple times. So that is the basic advantage of using keyword driven. Write one time and use it many times. So you can take a test like this: log into flight application, open existing order, verify update order. But this is also applicable for this web based also, same thing. So then use this, create user different functions, call this function in the main test case, then load the reference files, use the functions whatever you want. So the thing I was talking about, you have to associate this to the test. How do you associate? For example, this is your library function, library.qfl. QFL stands for QuickTest Function Library. So if you have to associate, you have to come to test settings, go to resources, add this file here, so automatically it will be associated to the test, so that you can call these functions in the library. Then
so we need to create a function, then we need to convert that function into QFL file, and then we need to import it with using resources.
Correct. So when you create a library function and save it, automatically it will ask you if you want to save it in QFL. QFL is normally recommended way of saving, because otherwise you can also use like a VB script, or .txt is also acceptable. So it will give you options, 3 options, what you want to save it as: QFL, TXT or VBS. So don't worry about it. When you save it, it will show the options, so you don't have to remember it. Then what parameters you are passing, username, password, that also you have to enter here. And if you are not passing any value, the default value will be taken from here. So that is from the same test setting window, but you have to go to parameters. So then you do this library like this, right? So however, this is still, if you look at it, it is still a combination of descriptive and record. So this I will explain how the descriptive line looks like. So you can take it as a modularized example. So login is, the function for login is written separately. The function for open order is written separately, just like this. The syntax is different for public function and function. So you will incorporate everything in between. So and log out. So you will, this is the library, and you will call this login, or you want to call open order or whatever in the actual action. So this is where you call. So module driven is something different. Instead of creating the functions, you will create actions. That's why module driven is called action driven also, or advanced keyword driven. The same thing here. So identify the repeatable operations in your test cases. Record these operations as reusable actions rather than functions. That is the only difference. So that is entirely up to the framework. So if you want to use in some cases actions, that's fine. Or if you want to stick to keywords, library functions, that's also fine. So according to the type of page or type of function you are dealing with, you have to define the framework. So what do you want to use? Modules, actions, or the library. So like I said, it's you make decision, or your test lead makes a decision, and it's mostly like combination of these two. So that's why it is called hybrid approach. Then if you want to use actions, how many types of actions? So this is the important question you will face in the interview. Normal action, reusable action, and external action. What is a normal action? Normal action is just like you create an action and you can modify it whenever you want to. But reusable action, you create an action and you want to reuse it. So that means it can be modified, but when you modify it, the test which is using reusable action will be affected. So you have to make sure that it is not affected. Mostly you will use external action. That means you will create an action and make it external. That means you make it as a shared action, more or less, and use it anywhere, call it anywhere you want to. So here you cannot modify, that is the disadvantage. So make sure that when you create external action, you make all the changes so that you don't have to modify it again. So when you want to modify again, you have to probably delete it and create another external action or something, so that you can see in the QTP. So same thing.
But then what is the difference between action and function?
Okay, that's what I told you, right? In the beginning, keyword, there is no difference. It's basically QTP provides both options. You can either create keywords like this. These are the functions. Functions in the sense you have to have a little bit of knowledge in the library. You have to open a library and create functions using this public function login and blah blah blah, and put all these lines in here and create another function for another module, blah blah blah. So however, when you want to use actions, you don't have to have knowledge. Simply you create an action from the QTP menu. So more or less it's like you don't have to knowledge, you don't have to have programming knowledge basically. However, both will do the same thing. Both will achieve the same task. If you want to use, in some cases, your automation testing might want to use only the modules or actions rather than. So in which case you have to go for the actions. There is no other choice. So same thing.
So there is an option to make it reusable or make it. How do we make it reusable? Is there any option?
Yeah. So that's why normal action. If you right click on it, it will show you the options. Not here in QTP. So it will ask you, do you want to make an external action? So you just check that checkbox. There is a checkbox. I wish I could show you, but I don't have QTP installed in it. So just go through this. For the timing, you just go through this. When you have a chance to install QTP, what you do is you will actually practice this. That's why that's how you actually get familiarized with these features. Same thing. Repeatable operations will be recorded as actions here, not the functions. That's it. So here, this is how it looks like. The hierarchy will look like this in the action-driven programming. In the keyword-driven program, we have already seen, right, the functions. So here, login is the action, error pop is the action, create an order is action, verification, purchase, sign up. So here it looks like more or less visually it looks very good, and you can understand it. Whereas keyword-driven, it still looks it doesn't look visually, but you have to understand. So that, like I said, only comes with the good amount of programming knowledge. So it's up to you and your automation test lead what you want to adopt, either keyword driven or action driven or both are fine. Then finally, how do you call these actions? Using run action command. So this is an action, close browser begin. So here it is defined already, close browser begin, and then you call it using like so. How many iterations you want to run? One iteration or many iterations? Same thing, login action is defined over here. If you double click, the definition will be there right inside, and then you call it in the actual test, just the way we call it in actual main function in Java Selenium. Then you pass whatever you want to pass arguments. For example, log username I am passing here, and same thing, similar manner. So only that you will get what you want to use by experience. So if you practice it a lot, if you are experienced with QTP, you know what to use there. Then this is this. Let me go down. This is just like programs. You have QTP to practice it. So finally, data driven. This is important. Fifth approach. So we already know what is data driven. If you want to drive a script or multiple scripts over the data, so then you have to use the data driven. So in this approach, automation program will be executed more than one time with different test data, covering all possible combinations of data. So basically, this will be main advantage of automation. If your manual testing team is doing the same test case, they are executing with multiple sets of data, then what will happen? It will take a lot of time consumption is there. However, if you are automated one test case and if you data drive it with 10 sets, 100 sets, still it will take less time comparing to manual. I won't say it won't take more time, but comparatively it will take very less time to manual testing. So how do you create the data? That's according to your black box testing techniques, right? So black box testing is technique has BVA, boundary value analysis, ECP, equivalence class partitioning. So you will normally, this is the concept of your SDL, software development life cycle or software testing life cycle. So black box testing techniques will be used in your normal functional testing. White box, just the way white box testing techniques are used in the unit testing, the developer uses them, code walkthrough and mutation, blah blah testing. So here you use minimum, maximum, min minus 1, min plus 1, maximum, max plus 1. For example, your requirement is username should be taking only minimum 8 alphanumeric characters but maximum 30 characters. This is the requirement. And your test case should cover what kind of data. That's what BVA explains, right? So 8 is the minimum. Take minimum 8, 30, 8 minus 1 is the negative case. That's why it is in red. Minimum plus 1, max minus 1, max plus 1 is 31, which will fail the test case. So the red ones are failing cases. So basically, why we are taking this technique? Because instead of covering all possible combinations, that will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 30, 1000 until 1000. Don't want to cover all this. So technically, these will cover entire thing. So you don't have to cover everything, but just cover this test data and you have covered everything. So that is your testing this requirement thoroughly. Say similarly, equivalence class partitioning will cover alphanumeric, numerical, special characters, combinations of this. You play with this. So basically, alpha will be pass case, numerical will be pass case, special characters if you use username, that will be the negative case, fail case. So that's why you take the combinations of DV and ECP. So basically, these are required for your data driven approach. That's why we are discussing this one. So in data driven, there are 4 types of data driven. So one is you take the data from keyboard, you take the data from flat file, TXT file or CSV file, you take the data from front-end objects, finally you take the data from Excel spreadsheet or CSV. This is the most widely used technique. So it will take the data from these files, run the automation program over these, and that will be applied on your application test. So let us see this. Simply keyboard driven, if you want to take the data from keyboard, simply you put the input box. This we have already seen, nothing new. So you go. Okay, so let me explain this. This is more or less a descriptive programming. So in which you use option explicit, you declare your variables, you launch the variable browser including the URL, and then what I'm doing is I want to drive this data over some iterations. So I am using for loops. For loops is normally to drive the data multiple times, and I am accepting input data from the user. Then what I am doing is here, this is what is totally independent of your object repository. You are mentioning the browser. Browser is the object name, topmost object name, and name is the property name. In the Selenium we have used something, right? Using this ID is equal to something name, yeah, same thing. So the syntax is little bit different. You have to put colon equal to property name, colon equal to, and property value. So you will find these details using the object spy. Object spy, just like we use the developer tools Firebug in the Selenium. So we use object spy to capture these values. So then this is the parent, its child, dot its descendant child, web edit, and where I want to set something, just like send keys, you set something and pass this username. So here I want to use this repeatedly, browser.page, so I can just use with, so that I don't have to repeat. That's the actual advantage of with. So this dot web edit, every time this will be repeated automatically. Then dot image dot click dot blah blah blah, so you will end with. So whatever is in between with and end with will be repeated with this. Automatically the QTP will repeat it for you. So second example is file data. For example, you store your data, username, password, blah 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 in the text file. So then you want to use it in your program. So what you have to create is, you have to create a file system object. Just the way we have file class in the Java, you have to create a file system object and then open this file. In the file open mode, like read mode, write mode, or read and write mode, so you enter 1, 2 or 8 over here, and the file creation flag is yes or no. So that means if file is not created already, then it will create, otherwise it won't create. So you can mention yes or no there, here. Then you use a file while condition, because file has multiple lines. So basically you are putting the condition until the file's system object reaches the end of the file. You just read every line and store it in the variable x. Then you end the while loop, close this file system object. So whatever you open, you close it. Just the way we kill the driver.quit, you close it. So this is the second technique. This is also used, but let's come to so in between I provided. Yeah, you have questions so far, Prachi?
We input values using the data objects, and in the bottommost there are two Excel things, global test providing on the screen of QTP. There are two Excel things where we can input, right, in the main QTP screen.
Where in the
not here. Global sheet and data sheet. There are two sheets, right?
I'll come to down.
Okay.
So, previous students, I'll just explain this. So just the way we website, so it can auto-complete something. Just type control space. This will complete it. Same thing. These are some of the techniques. So just wanted to mention. CDVL is a function for converting text into bold. Same thing. Cint for converting text to string. In VB script, we do not use parentheses. So just remember semicolon. Because if you are well aware of Java, you might tend to use semicolon at the end of each line. So that's not used here. So that's one of the things you have to remember. And do not leave multiple instances of Windows browser open before executing the scripts. Close all windows. So basically, if you already have written some program for closing the browser windows, so use that programmatically, run it each time you start your programming, and record the test scripts in the test flow and cut paste in the code in the library. Normally, automation testers do this mistake. They will directly go to library function and start writing. So that's not recommended. First, you write your functions in the test folder, and once everything is done, cut paste into multiple functions in the library function, like login, open order, blah blah blah. Okay, so these are some of the techniques. You can read it. Okay, descriptive line will look like this. I told you the syntax: parent object, property name, value, child object. This is the most general syntax of the any line in the descriptor. So if you understand this, you can write the descriptive programming easily. So step generator for capturing the value. So capturing the values. So basically, example is web tables in your application. Close the door. Okay. So if you encounter Gaurav 330 కదా నేను తీసుకునేది. గౌరవ్ ఇక్కడ తీసుకోవట్లేదా? గౌరవ్ ఇక్కడ ఎందుకు వస్తుంది? 330 EST అని చెప్పాడు. Okay, that's fine. Okay, loud.
doing this stuff.
Yes. People are sleeping right now. This is a night shift. So anyway, slowly. Just tell me if you are able to hear my voice. Okay, so this is basically we have encountered some web tables in our application, right? So if you want to read the data from web table, you use this dot web table and get cell data from which cell you want to capture. Just the way we have written some function. So this is how you read the data from web table. Okay, so the front-end objects is not important. So basically this is used to capture the values from the drop-down itself. Drop-down. So for example, if you have drop-down like states or countries drop-down, and you capture the data from those and use it as your test data. So then you can go for this. Otherwise it's not very important. So finally we will jump to data-driven with the data sheet. So this is important. So in this fourth type, there are again three subtypes: manual data entry, import the data from database, import the data from Excel sheet. So finally, this is very, very important. So we will see these two. Okay, the first one is here. This is what you are talking about, right? Data table. This is called data table. So just the way we entered the data, username, password, blah blah blah, you enter it here. So this is the header. This is the first row, second row, blah blah blah. So you enter it here. This is one way. This is the first way of entering the test data. Second way is if you want to import the data from database. That means you have some data in database. You want to drive your script over that data. So what you will do is just right click on this data table, go to sheet, import from database. So automatically it will fetch all the data from the database and dump it over here. So just like this. So this data is coming from the database table. It's not entered manually. So this is one way. So the final way is you create an Excel spreadsheet somewhere in your local machine. Then right click here, just the way right click here, instead of from database you select from file. So then it will select that Excel file, dump all the data over here. So this is the most widely used technique for the data driven testing. So then finally, okay, so if you want to do this, if you don't remember how to do this, just go to tools, select the data driver and follow the instructions that will also fetch this data over here. So using different techniques. Finally, you want to use this data into your program. For example, you have entered first name. You want to replace your hard-coded values with the data from the data sheet, right? So in Java, what we have used, in Java, I don't want to go to Java, but I will just compare it. In Java, what we will use, simply you replace that using get cell text or something. We have written some program, right? Using the sheet, read the sheet, read the Excel sheet, read the sheet, read the table row, read the cell content, and replace it. Similarly, you replace your hard-coded value with this line. So data table of column name is your column name, order number or whatever. Then DT global sheet normally recognizes this. That means this whole data can be used anywhere within your project here. But local sheet action one only you can use it in a particular action. That means it's local to the action. So always recommended that you go for the global. That means enter your data in the global tab, not the action tab. Unless you want it to be specific to action tab, that's fine. So both syntax are there, global sheet, local sheet. So I will show you how to parameterize this with the Excel spreadsheet data. Okay, so if you look at this program, so if you look at this, I am entering some name, window.winedit. Set something. So that particular name, Sangam or whatever, is replaced by this data table, customer name, DT global sheet. So when it runs, what happens? It will run. It will first go to Sangam. Then second iteration it will do this. Third iteration it will take. So basically, the entire program will run 10 iterations. So that's how every time it will take the unique set of data from this. So it always refers to the column name. So that's why you are only mentioning the column name here. Here, column name, only customer name. That means you want to run on all the values in this particular column. Similarly, you data drive on all the other values. So that's the approach. Finally, hybrid approach. So what is a hybrid approach? What is hybrid approach by definition?
It's a mixture of data driven.
It's a combination of data driven, function driven, model driven basically. So this is how do you use what to use where and blah 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 will be defined in the framework. So that you or your automation test lead will do it. So that you just follow the framework. So then finally some other concepts in this any automation tool uses synchronization, right? Because if you want to use automation, you have to take care of the synchronization because the automation may be slow or faster or application may be slow or faster. So you have to basically sync between both of these. So that can be done using the either changing the timeout period here. This means that between each operation it will wait for 20 seconds max, after which it will time out. So this is one way. Another way is wait. Using the wait 20 will wait for 20 seconds. Just the way we use thread.sleep in Java. So wait, this is again this is the static one. That means it will wait for 20 seconds even though it has already displayed or launched. So that is kind of time consuming. So if you want to go for the dynamic synchronization point, use this. Add the synchronization point there. So that will be added like this. Dot wait property enable true. It will wait for 20 seconds. But the advantage of here is if before this particular wing edit is displayed already comes into existence, it will not wait for 20 seconds. Within 5 seconds it is launched, then it won't wait but it will continue to move on. So that's basically advantage. So normally this is recommended way of using the synchronization column. So then you can go through the dynamic objects and regular expressions. Okay, we are talking about regular. What is the regular expression again, Prachi?
That's what I told. If we have some value which is changing after each run, then for that we use this expression so that when we if any property is dynamic, then we use regular expression. For example, for order ID,
Yeah,
it will change.
right. So you are right. So I'll a little bit clarify what you said. So normally, for example, if you take a agent name here, right? So agent name can be alphanumeric. So that means if you enter any alphanumeric character, it should be accepted. So the regular expression should be combination of alphabets and numeric characters. Any number, 8 maximum you can also incorporate. So for example, you say 0 to 9 is normally represents number and A to Z normally represents the alpha. And you write a specific regular expression that will act as generalized formula for the specific value. So basically if you want to deal with all values and you want to sum it up into one single expression, that will be your regular expression. So we will see some examples. In QTP, how do you use this? For example, if user enters any agent name that is alphanumeric but minimum 8 characters, maximum 30 characters, you want to check that. So simply use regular expression. What do you mention regular expression? You have to write it using this simple expression. So basically, if you want to represent a single digit, 0 to 9, this represents a single digit, either no digit or 1 digit or more digit. So this will represent that 1 or more digits is represented by plus sign. So basically, if there are no digits or 1 digit, then question mark. Similarly, A to Z, this represents single small alphabet, lowercase. A to Z capital will represent single capital alphabet, and normally star means either no or one or many. So that's what it is. Examples are like this: none, one or many. So similarly, plus means one or more. So minimum one should be there. Plus means star means there can be none or one or many. So basically this is generalized most. Question mark means none or one. So these are the examples. If you want to represent a single alphanumeric, either alphabet or numeric, So just put
Yeah. Yeah, we can continue.
this is just to explain. For example, if you want to write the two occurrences of alphabet or simply followed by square bracket n occurrences of for example, you have
But I didn't understand the use of it. Like,
no, that's what I'm saying. This is if you want to write your own expression, you have to understand. You understand this one, right? So for example, you are
no, I understand.
0 to 4 alphabets. How do you write this? Capital letters. So one occurrence of capital alphabet is represented by this one, A to Z.
And 0 to 4 okay.
So either it will be no alphabet, or one alphabet, two capital alphabets, or 3 or 4, up to 4. So the whole range of alphabets can be represented by a single expression like this. That is the main advantage. And for example, if you want to start with a specific string, then you have to use a caret sign. You have to, if you are looking for ending some specific string, then $sign. So these are the basic. If you want to use this in a certain example, now you look at this. For example, you enter some data and you want to check it is in the proper format like this, month, date, year format. Just for the example. Then you have to write this regular expression. I will explain you how this works. For example, this is MMDDYY. Okay, MMDDYY. This is the example. Okay. So now you start with the right. Starting is caret. Now this is a 2-digit number, right? So 2-digit number is represented by the one digit number is represented by \d, one occurrence of number. Okay. Now the month can be like this, 01, 02 up to 12. So basically you have to put 0. So that's why it is 2-digit number. So here the first digit is either starting 0. Okay, the acceptable characters are 0, 1, 2 because in the month you only see 0, 1, 2, right? So first any digit I'm taking, and then I'm taking one digit as 0, 1, 2. So the last digit is either 0 or 1 or 2. Okay, so basically this is not the foolproof, but we will look at another example. Then slash is a special character, you just use it like this. And then date is normally ranging from 0, 1 to 31. So basically it's a numeric which takes the value 0, 1, 2, and then another numeric takes 0, 3, 0, or okay, this is how it works. Okay, so first the last digit is either 3 or 3, 30 or 31, right? Starting from 3. This means that it is either 30 or 31. So that, or I'm subdividing the values into 3 categories, the date value. So either it is 0, 1, right? Starting from 0, either 0 to 9, that's it. If it is starting from 1, so either 1, 0, 1, 1, or until 1, 9. So that will represent this 0 to 9. Then finally It's any 4-digit number I am taking. So how do you represent 4-digit number? Simply backslash the 4 occurrences, and that is the end of it, dollar sign. So this is not a pool. You can write another better way of regular expression for this. So let us see a good example for another one. So these are the little some of the examples. For example, you want to check image file name has .png or .jpg. You can use this regular expression. IP address example like this, and phone number. Let us take a look at phone number. This is a good example. Normally the US phone numbers are this format, right? 3 digits followed by hyphen 3, again followed by hyphen and 4. So starting is 3 digits. So for example, so if you are looking for a specific state 250 only, then you can use this. Let's use another example. Okay, so this is the simplest example you can use. Time format. So time format is in hours and minutes format, right? So first hours takes 0, 1 to 12. 12 is the max. So the first number, I am going to the first number, it is either 0 or 1. This is the first number. Second number is 0 to 9, any number. Then second digit, the first number is 0 to 1 and 0 to 9. So basically it will be 0, 1 to 0, 9. Second digit is, it goes up to 12. 12 is a maximum. Okay. I don't know how this is working. This is confusing for me. Okay, so let us take a look at this URL. URLs at the always start from HTTP, so that is the beginning. So HTTP is a mandatory, but if you have secure site, S. So this is optional, so you put HTTP or HTTPS. Question mark means any occurrences. Normally in some you don't have to have HTTP, directly start from www. So the normally question mark means either 0 occurrences or more. That means even if it is not there, it will be still acceptable. Then okay, this is also we are writing for FTP site, so you can use FTP also for this. Then any number of occurrences, then www, any occurrences, because even if you skip www, it's still accepted directly yahoo.com. Then how do you look at this whole site? Netshift Media is simply a combination of alpha bits, but a website can have numbers also, or sometimes it can have underscore, not underscore, hyphen. So that will be represented by this particular piece of regular expression, A to Z, 0 to 9, and a hyphen. So basically you can use small letters, capital letters, numbers, and a hyphen, and plus sign means any number of occurrences. I am not putting a restriction. That means any number of alphanumeric characters can be there within this domain name. So that's that, and you can use as a this .com. The extension can be either .com, org, net, whatever, edu, ca, co.in, whatever. So you can mention all of this. So the pipe represents or either this or this or this or this. So and that is the end of it, $sign. So basically this is a good example to understand little moderate complex regular expression. So you can play with it. There is a site called regularexpressions.com. If you want to read more about them and practice about them, so just go to that site, regular-expressions.com, I guess. So that's about regular expressions.
Sangam, I need to leave now. When are we meeting again?
So do one, Tachi. I will finish this in 3 minutes, and then once you come back, we will start the selecting directly. So give me 2 minutes. So once I once I finish, I don't want to come back to this again. QTP. So object identification is normally it's important in terms of identifying the object. So otherwise you cannot write your code. Just the way you have to use find element in Java, you have to identify your objects. So that is taken care by like this. So basically you provide property name and value combination that will identify. So I will go fastly down. So that you can, if I walk you through this once, you can go through this later. So that's the intention. So database connectivity, if you want to do it using programmatically, I have mentioned the program. So you can just copy paste and use it in your program. And then finally data table we have already seen. Okay. And then these are some of the new these are some of the features which are not widely used, and using the environment parameters and blah blah blah. And then if you want to run your batch, for example, if you have 1000 automation scripts but you want to run it in a batch, you can use test batch runner or using run action command. So we will see this in the normal our Java also in Eclipse. Similarly, this is a big example I have taken, and if you just install a trial version of QTP and go through this. So I have mentioned a simple example, simple test case, and how do you automate this in entirety. So just basically it was given as homework. So just at the end of it, try to automate this example, this test case 1, test case 2, test case 3, using descriptive programming, using keyword driven approach, using module driven and data driven. All basically you have to use hybrid approach for this example. So once you do this, it will give you enough confidence to actually face the interview. So this document acts as a both interview preparation purposes, and if you are if you get a doubt, you can just control F it. Control F and search for something. So automatically, so you can find answers. So I hope that helps, Prachi. This is just to give an idea on how to prepare for interview or interview. So just go through this one many times, as many times as you can. So and you should be good. So if you get any doubt, you can let me know. I'll be happy to help you. So okay, Prachi.
Sure.
We will start our session once you come back at 3:30.
Okay. Sangam.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Sangam.
Okay, Prachi. You're welcome. Bye.